Hi, my name is Jo Hadley. This is my podcast, Being a Human Lighthouse. I'm a somatic counselor. And what I do with my work is I help people access their inner wisdom. And I do this by getting them to let me know what question it is they want to inquire about in their lives, what's going on in their lives that isn't working and they'd like to look at and see in a deeper way. We can't look at the entire life in one sitting, but there's always a particular issue that's showing up, and that can be linked in many, many invisible net ways to other issues in our life. So healing one aspect can heal many aspects in the person. Now, all of us have different layers and patterns and issues and things, and they're often held and trapped in the body. I myself, I'm a human. I'm like you. I do the same work. And the difference is that because I've been doing the work for a long time, and the more I learn, the deeper I go, the more I can turn around and reach out a helping hand and assist others. I still need to get somatic counseling for myself at times when I need it, from people who are ahead of me on the journey and can help lift me up to the next level. So we're always helping each other. Each of us have our own inner wisdom, or this part of ourselves that just knows what's best for us, that wants us to expand into the highest version of ourselves. Sometimes the patterns and programming and conditioning we've got from our families, our circumstances, our traumas, the society around us can block access to this. And sometimes we've just learned to shut it down. A lot of the work I do is getting us to feel the sensations in the body and what they're telling us. Often that can be related back to the past, can be our past, can even go to ancestral past. As I've said in recent podcasts, I've actually been dealing with some things that I know go at least 2 generations back to my grandmother on my mother's side. And these things are real for me as well today. It's not like I'm just talking and thinking about her problems, but as they're showing up in my life, I remember things that I've seen and witnessed within my mother, things she's told me, things that remind me. I'm going, wow, I think this is going on for generations, if not longer than 2 generations. In this past year, I've also discussed just how this past year I have asked the universe even more directly to just know that I'm living according to my soul, to live according to my inner wisdom, to really know this inner light of who I am and what's blocking it. And about 11 months ago, I was at a Kyle Cease event, the big one in Los Angeles. And I asked the universe to help me because I just love the energy that was there. I was surrounded by like-minded people, or people who do the same work, who are interested in doing the same self-work and helping others. And it's interesting, I went there because I knew that I'd been developing a lot of skills and I was trying to implement it within the career that I had, but it just wasn't working. The universe had put me synchronistically, I know, in a job that I knew was not aligned for me. And the previous job I had was working for people who, in the profession, who got me, who understood where I was going, who had Reiki backgrounds, who had meditation backgrounds, who understood how all this, the health of a person is related to our emotional and mental well-being and our belief systems, and about accessing our inner wisdom. But that clinic had to close down suddenly due to ill health. And so I had to go to a place that I knew wasn't quite right for me. So I went to this event last year just to ask the universe and to hopefully get all this extra energy to help get the universe to help me find where I was supposed to be. I thought it was going to be an easy transition, and I should know by now that when you ask for things, it's like a game of snakes. Oops, it's like a game of snakes and ladders. Sometimes we do all this inner work and we feel like we're going up the ladder, we're getting lighter, we're expanding, life is getting better, we're making better choices, we see the world from a bigger perspective, from perception and consciousness level. And then we might hit a level, boom, and we feel like we've just dropped back down the snake, down to a lower level. We often don't go back to a lower level. It's just that we're now ready to access something even higher, something even greater than what we were before. But we feel like we're at the bottom again because the new issue that we're now got the skills and consciousness to address seems like we're starting again, starting fresh, and can have that same feelings of stress and anxiety and fear that we had with the problem when it showed up at other levels. Though when we look at it, we do know we're seeing it from a higher perspective and a wider perspective, from a wiser perspective, and we've got more skills and better choices. And so when I returned home, the universe gave me a week to implement what I said I was going to do, which was resign from my job, which I didn't do. I was too scared because every time I thought about it, all I could see was the great unknown, and I didn't know where I was going. And yes, the unknown is where I need to go. And I thought I was going to the unknown, but I didn't quite realize that there was a pattern in me that was terrified to actually step into the true unknown. I wanted to stay in the controlled unknown. So the universe gave me a week. And if I didn't believe in the universe and a higher power before, the signs were so clear, so obvious. The day I ended up having to leave my job a week later, and I was thrust into the great unknown. In the past, every time I've taken this step before, I've sometimes hit hurdles. I've sometimes felt that fear of fear. Oh my God, it's all getting worse again, which I didn't realize at the time was actually me stepping into something better and higher. But because it felt scary and it wasn't easy, I just interpreted it incorrectly and went back. My written post this week was a bit about that, about how when we heal, it's not always easy. It doesn't always just open us up into expansion, lightness, oneness, instant revelation. It sometimes can drop us back into fear and anxiety and feel like everything's getting worse. Our symptoms are getting worse. So in the past, I have often been human and gone back to what I knew. I often did it out of fear and panic. This time, the universe has decided that it was going to give me, well, I now have an issue with my hands, and I had a very hands-on job healing, helping people release trauma and patterns and injuries and things in their body, especially via the fascial system, doing what I do with the somatic work, but I was doing it with more hands-on. And I loved doing that. I loved watching the instantaneous lightness and the release that people got when they were ready. I also realized that even if you're not trying to change anything, if people aren't ready, their body will tense up and fight it. So I learned a lot. But what happened was that this time I was being pushed into the unknown, and there was no fear and going back to what I did before. Because I loved working with my hands, working with the fascia, doing this sort of emotional release, I always found a way to work somewhere and use it. This time, my hands have developed an issue that I just can't do that. So that way was blocked. And because of this, I found myself thrust into the unknown where I was in the midst of studying and retraining because I did eventually want to get out of, I had an idea that I wanted to get out of the hands-on clinic and I wanted to do the somatic counseling work that I'm doing now. I did think I'd transition into it slower. I also was still trying to implement into the old paradigm that I was working in. And I've met people who have done that, but it seems like that was not my path. So the universe decided that I was no longer going to be able to do hands-on work. So I was in the midst of studying and couldn't quite do what I wanted to do. So I found myself, well, having to move homes like 3 or 4 times now. I finished off the study, created my online business, taken a lot of steps. And I'm actually very proud of myself because it's been a really scary process. There's been lots of darkness and fears popping up. And I do remember every bit of familiarity had been stripped away from me, whether it was friends and family having, moving away from, whether it was other support systems no longer available. It was like everything I'd relied on before was no longer available. I truly was in the real unknown. My resilience and using my own skills, I think I've been amazing. There have been times, though, when I've been really stressed, really fearful, really anxious. But I've allowed myself to feel those feelings, and at times I've had friends and family to share those feelings with. And in the last week and a half, I've now moved to a new city. It's one where I feel that it's a synchronistic move. I have an ultimate end goal that I've had for about 10 years now to set up a like a healing center. It's morphed in many different ways in my mind for the last 10 years. It's gone under a couple of different names, but the latest incarnation that I've had in the last year was I started to call it the End of the Earth Healing Collective. So in the last week or so, I've been thinking about the End of the Earth Consciousness Collective, working with a lot of like-minded people to help increase the energy and frequency, vibration, and just having the knowledge and also the energy work, because everything is frequency and vibration. And if you have a group of people with high consciousness levels, you can help assist lifting up others. Even if it's temporarily, we can't change anyone else. But if you've ever meditated in a group, so the higher the consciousness of the group, you will feel a really deep and powerful meditation. The converse is true that if you get into a mob, you often see how, nice people can turn kind of bad in a mob if the mob becomes unruly, because the summation of all our individual consciousnesses is greater than the sum of the parts. So when more than two of us or three of us get together, we can create a higher energy field which can help lift up others. And of course, if you've got a lot of people at that high level, we can really support the uplifting of other people who are struggling. We can't heal for them, but if you can lift someone up to see their own potential, to see where they can go, to see who they can be, to see what they would feel like if they could let go of their faulty beliefs and their patterns, then you would see, you'd at least have that visualization in your mind. You'd have that feeling in your body because you'd experienced it even for a moment. And then you can set your own internal GPS to then have your own higher power and your own inner wisdom guide you there. Once you had a sensation of what it feels like, you've got a destination that you know that you're heading towards. There is no ultimate destination. Each destination, when you get there, there will be another destination after that. But that's another story. So that's been my ultimate goal. And while I've been in the dark year of the soul and wondering sometimes whether all my beliefs are faulty or whether I'm actually blocking all my beliefs through some fear, I kept asking the universe, wherever you want to send me, it's up to you. I've got no idea. So I did need to do some extra work to support my online business because it's just new. It's starting. So I had to have something just to help give me a foundation. And lo and behold, I have been sent to the end of the earth, Australia-wise, in Tasmania. It's interesting because I was thinking of, ultimately I was thinking Tasmania or New Zealand. And I did have an opportunity for New Zealand, which is where I truly wanted to go. But I was not able to be a somatic counselor there. So that kind of ruled that out, even though I did have an option to move there and work there. So I am able to do this work here in Tasmania, which is still part of Australia. And so that is where I now find myself living. Now, it's early days. I've been here just over a week. And it's interesting because the universe has set me a couple of other challenges that are addressing the two major patterns in my life that I have been working on, the deepest belief systems that have sabotaged my life till now. I've been addressing them at deeper and deeper levels, well, for decades, but especially in the last year and a half. It's exponential. The more I do this, the techniques and the somatic healing work that I do with others, the more I learn those techniques. And of course, you have to do it with yourself and practice and do all these things on yourself. You just can't help others and not look at yourself. You actually have to look inwards to yourself and not heal yourself. I guess healing is probably not the right word the more I learn about things, but to release the faulty beliefs within yourself, to change your own faulty perceptions, to improve your own level of consciousness. That has to be number one. And once you do that, you're then able to help others at a higher level. And you can only ever really help people at the level or below of where you are. If someone's way ahead of me in the level of consciousness, I possibly and probably will not be of any benefit to them. Whereas they can be of great benefit to me because they're at a high level. They see a bit more, they feel a bit more. And none of us are better than others. Just sometimes we're on a path just further along the path than others. So the responsibility of the people ahead is to turn around and assist the people below. And it's interesting because even when I was very young, I remember I used to be a very big Richard Gere fan, and I still am a Richard Gere fan. I remember watching An Officer and Gentleman, and I saw it repeatedly. And there's one scene in that stuck in my mind, even back then. And it was when Richard Gere's character, Zach, had the chance to break a record of going around the obstacle course, I think it was. But at the last moment, he chose to go back and help the character is Siga get over the obstacle that she was struggling with. He couldn't do it for her, but he helped assist her by motivating her. And it's funny, that particular scene of having the chance to go ahead, but going back and helping someone else has always resonated with me. It's always been really, really important to me. And that's how I look at the work that I do with people now. This podcast is not about teaching you what to do. I like to do it from a different perspective because there's many great podcasts interviewing people, interviewing great scientists, doctors, people who have a lot of techniques, a lot of research. I like mine to be different, to show you what it's like to be working in this program and living from it and trying to practice what I preach. And to show that it's not easy. Like this last year, I have been in despair many times. I have cried many tears. I have had patterns trigger panic attacks. I've had things arise back into my life that I thought I'd healed many years ago. But I also know that I have changed just about every aspect of my life all at the same time. That is incredibly stressful. I mean, when I'm dealing with clients, it's people that have one of these aspects, we consider it a major life change, a major life stressor. And I've had to juggle at least 5 different aspects of my life, I think, at once. And I'm very proud of how I've been doing it because I've had to really put into practice the principles, sitting with the fear. Sometimes when the fears or the patterns got too much, I have actually reached out for help and either had my own counseling or I've chatted to friends or family who've just stayed with me in those tough moments. I have been grateful with the love and the support that I have received from friends. especially the love and support I found from a friend who wasn't even like I had not even had a lot to do with. We used to work together many years ago. We worked for many years together, but she reached out and gave me a level of support that was just phenomenal. And I am so grateful. And other long term friends and family have been helpful as well. I guess it's more surprising when it comes from someone that you don't expect, or it's someone straight out of left field. But I'm grateful to all of them. I have done lots of breath work. I've exercised. I've looked after myself with eating, doing just all the normal things. And sometimes I've wondered when this dark year of the soul was going to end. And I don't think it's officially ended yet because, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, now that I've arrived in Hobart, it's really clear to me that the universe is giving me a couple more challenges. There's a couple of patterns that I've had since childhood. I think we all have some base wounds. There's one or two things that basically can drive our entire life. There's one or maybe two patterns. And I've been very aware of these patterns and I've been working with them. But it's interesting. It's interesting in one level because my best friend, a friend I've had for over 35 years, said to me when I arrived here, she said, oh, maybe the universe still has a couple more challenges for you before you're done. Because I said, I'm looking at creating this end of the earth consciousness collective. And sometimes I just think, wow, all right, it's been in my head evolving for 10 years now. Is it ever going to happen? And sometimes I despair and feel like everything's not working out. And she said, well, maybe it is. You just got a couple more patterns to overcome. And when I look into myself, into my heart, and ask how true that is, it really resonated. And I can see very clearly these two patterns. I may have mentioned a book before, The Presence Process by Michael Brown. And in that book, he says that we're all one, we're all connected by the one force, energy, and it knows everything. And it knows the perfect person to send to trigger you, to trigger a pattern. So when we get our patterns triggered, that's a sign we need healing in that area. So it's not about the person or even the situation that is causing an issue or a trigger. It's knowing that they're just the messenger. That's what his book talks about. Not to blame the other person, not even to complain about the situation, though I have done that today. It is about recognizing the situation or the person or whatever is happening as merely the messenger. The fact that you're reacting to it is the message, and it's the message that we need to heal. It's that often a memory from our childhood, our past, ours, ancestral, whatever, that is still yet to be healed. And it's interesting because I found myself back with the two biggest patterns. And it's so obvious that the universe is still poking me in the side quite sharply to address these now, whereas I just feel completely overwhelmed at times. My nervous system is sometimes completely shot, going, okay, my window of tolerance is really short right now. I'm giving myself compassion, I'm meditating, I'm exercising, but why? Just give me some peace. Why do I have to do some more work? But unfortunately, I did ask for this, and I am recognizing the trigger, and hopefully I've made progress already. It's always like an onion, you're peeling to the next layer. So I know I've taken off some extra layers, which is good. I don't know how far this goes, but this is just my story so far. I know I've been on the dark night of the soul for 11 months now. I do feel I'm nearer the end than the beginning, but who knows? In the quantum world, who knows? And I do not know what tomorrow brings. I just know I'm dealing with today. And I applaud my own resilience. I applaud my own courage. I applaud my own compassion for all the courage I've shown, for all the inner work that I've done, for all the embracing of everything that I teach others. And that's what we need to do is whenever we do have these challenges, whenever we do find ourselves facing our triggers and having to heal them, we need to acknowledge how far we've come. We have to acknowledge and give ourselves a pat on the back or acknowledgement of just how courageous we've been and how far we've come and what we've healed. Of course, we don't ignore the fact, we don't put down what we've done, but it's good to give ourselves a pat on the back and acknowledgement of just how much change has happened because we've intended it, because we've had the courage to face our fears, because we've had the courage to face these triggers and to transmute them into something else and to strive to evolve to an ever higher level of consciousness and perception and to know our inner wisdom and our higher power and to live from that space. And it's okay also to acknowledge when we fail. Sometimes I have days where I just cry and I feel miserable. I've had a couple this week where I've just walked home and felt really down. And I've allowed myself to feel that. I've allowed myself and given myself permission to feel these feelings. And the irony is, as I give myself permission, I found deeper layers of peace and contentment. Even a few minutes later, one day I was quite down coming home, wondering when this tough time is ever going to end. And I was very despairing, and I just allowed myself to feel just how rotten it felt within my body, within my life. And what I noticed was a few hours later, I actually felt peaceful and calm. And that's always a good thing to remember, that when we're feeling really, really, really low, just to give ourselves some time, at least 24 hours, just to see how it may change. Because that shows you each time that it's not permanent, even though in the moment it can feel it. So I've talked a lot this week, maybe making up for the fact that I didn't do this last week. But I will finish off with a brief healing meditation. If you like to do that with me, I just encourage you just to close your eyes, be present, don't do anything else. Just allow yourself to be in this moment and be safe. Either sit or lie down. I just invite you to just close your eyes if that's okay, and just feel where you're sitting or lying. Feel your physical body as it is being supported by the physical environment. You can feel your feet on the floor. If you like, you can imagine roots going to the center of the earth to really connect you to the physical plane, the earth plane that provides us with all we need to live in the physical world. Everything we need to eat, the air we need to breathe, the water we need to drink, the herbs and the medicines we need to heal. Just feel those roots connecting you to the earth that supports you and loves you. Now I invite you to imagine that there's a cord running from the center of your head right up to the middle of the universe. And it's plugging into the center of the universe. So you're now connected below to the earth and above to the universe and all that is. You're a bridge between the two. Now I invite you to place your hand on your heart, if that's comfortable for you, and just breathe in low and slow, in and out through the heart area. Just breathing in all the air and oxygen and information and love and light. Breathe in and inspire in more ways than one. Inspire the air, but breathe in all the inspiration from the universe. And then breathe out all that you're ready to let go of. As you breathe in, imagine it's coming in through the heart area and it's filling up every cell in your body with light and information and love and wisdom. As you breathe out, imagine it's letting go of every pattern you no longer need. Faulty beliefs and toxins are all just gently and easily leaving your system. So breathe in, imagine it's going through the heart area, filling up every cell in your body. You may feel lighter, you may see light. Just imagine every cell being nourished with whatever it needs. And as you let go, you're letting go of everything you no longer need. Now, just notice any sensations that may be occurring in your body. Just know that you're safe, you're sitting or lying down, just observing the body and what's going on within it. If the sensations are pleasant or neutral, they're easy to observe. But if the sensations are unpleasant, just know you're safe and just know you're just witnessing an unpleasant sensation. Just be curious, non-judgmental, and just allow it to be there. As you breathe in, as you breathe out. This is how our body talks to us, and it stores everything. If you can, just stay with the unpleasant sensations, even if it's uncomfortable. As long as you're not overwhelmed. And if you're overwhelmed, just open your eyes. Just connect with your feet on the floor, your hands. Tune into your 5 senses. That will bring you back to the moment. But if you can, stay with these unpleasant sensations. Just stay with them and notice them. You're not trying to change them. You're not trying to get them to leave. They may change, they may not. Every situation is individual and unique. Just allow it to unfold as it's meant to unfold. And commend yourself for being able to sit peacefully with the unpleasant sensations in your body, which are very often the unresolved traumas, the unresolved emotions and issues that we keep in our energy field. By witnessing them and with compassion and non-judgment, we're seeing them, we're allowing them. And that's often an important step to them integrating into a higher consciousness, a higher wisdom. I invite you again to place your hand on your heart and take 3 more slow, deep breaths in and out through the heart. Filling up with light and love and information with every cell in the body. As you breathe out, let go of everything that no longer serves you. And after the third breath, as you breathe in the next time, just imagine through your heart center what it would feel like if you were living according to your higher power, if you were living according to your soul and what you truly, truly wanted to do in this life. What would bring you the greatest joy, the greatest peace, the greatest love, the greatest health? Just feel what that would feel like as you breathe in and as you breathe out. You don't have to know exactly what the outer world would look like, but if you know what you want to feel within you, that is more important. To feel how much peace you would like to feel if you were living your authentic self from your highest power. How much love would you feel? Joy. How abundant would you feel? Where would you be living? Who would be in this world with you, supporting you, having conscious relationships with you? Just feel what it would feel like. If images occur, great. If not, just see if you can feel in your body even a little bit of how great it would be, what it would feel like if you actually lived according to your higher self, your higher power, being led by your inner wisdom. And now, as this meditation comes to a close, just invite you to just notice your body again. You can wiggle your feet and toes and hands, move the fingers around, wiggle in your chair, and then when you're ready, just open your eyes. Just invite you just to notice how you feel compared to before when you started the meditation. Is there any lightness? Did you have any revelations or guidance or wisdom? Has something unpleasant arisen, some pattern arisen that now has your attention? Just be curious and just know that unpleasant sensations and emotions are just something that is coming to the surface that you're now ready to see. If anything is overwhelming, sometimes you need the assistance of a somatic counselor or therapist. But a lot of things we can do on our own as well. So for another week, wish you a good week and talk again next week. Bye.